Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So I'm going to continue from where I left off in the last video. So let me quickly explain some of the dependencies we have here in the build.gradle file. So the first one is just the dependency needed if you're using Firebase, and then the second one is for authentication. The third one is for our storage, sorry, not storage, I beg your pardon. It's for our database, the Firebase firestore. The this one here is for our storage. The circle image view is to make an image view circular, and then the glide library here is to load images from the server. Okay, now I want to start off in the main activity. As you know, the main activity is our launcher activity, which is here, and is a launcher. So in here I want to first of all, okay, I want to create a variable here, and this will be called auth. Now this will be a type of Firebase auth, and I'm going to initialize this to null by default. So the next thing I'm going to do is to, okay, we want to be able to register users, okay, but before we register a user, we need to check if the user already exists first of all before we do that. So I'm going to override the onStart method inside my main activity. Now inside the onStart method here, I'm going to check if the user already exists or not. Okay, so I'm going to say if I'm going to use the if statements here, and I will say if mauth dot current user. Here I am using the property access syntax. I can actually use the method itself, which is called get current user. Yeah, this is it. So the property access syntax gives you access to the get current user method. So instead of writing get current user, you can just type in dot current user. Okay, so we want to check if the current user is null. So here I'm going to use the comparison. You have to say if current user is equals to null. Now this is giving us an error because it wants us to assert it with a safe call. So to do that, I'm going to just come after the mauth and then add a question mark to it. So that will fix that, and then so if current user is equals to null, then we want to be able to navigate to. So if the current user is equals to null, we want to navigate to another activity, and that activity we have not created it yet, but I'm just going to type out the code here. So here I'm going to start an activity. So I'll say start activity. The start activity takes in an intent. So instead of calling new intents like we would do in Java, you just call the class intent. And inside the intent, we need to pass in two arguments. The first argument will be a context, which is the activity, and so I'm just going to pass in this. Then the second activity, or the second argument we need to pass in, is the activity we want to navigate to. But for now we don't have anyone yet, so I'm going to rush. I will create one real quick. So right click on my package and then go to new activity, and I'll choose an empty activity. So in this empty activity will be called login activity. Right, so when that is done, I'll make sure the language is make sure Kotlin is selected in the source language. I'm going to click finish. So let's wait for it while it generates the file. So the file is generating, and while it is doing that, I'm going to move over to my main activity, and so in here I will now pass in the activity that was created, which is called login activity. Then after that, just add a colon and say class.java. So that should take us to our login activity, and this is done here. Let me quickly cross check if okay. So this and this, okay. there's something we're missing. Our Firebase authentication or our Firebase auth is not initialized, so we are going to do that now. So this will be mauth equals to Firebase auth.get instance. So that is initialized, or I can initialize it in the onStart. No, this should be fine. Alright, so over to our login activity now, and I'm going to create another activity here called a register activity. So I'll go to new activity, I'll choose empty activity, and then I'm going to call this reg activity. That stands for register activity. So the register activity has been created, and I'm going to open up the XML file. So I won't spend a lot of time in the XML path. I will copy the code and paste, and then I'll put the link in the description where you can download it. So I'll Ctrl A and then paste. I had this in my clipboard already. I'll just walk you through and explain the code. So as you can see, this is an app bar layout. The app bar is this purple part of the application. The app bar wraps up the linear layout, which has this text called join and the other text which is for something else. So this is for margin, and the margin values are located in the dimension file, but I haven't created that yet. That's why it's giving me this error. And then next we have the progress bar, which is at this point hidden, or at this time hidden. Then the scroll view that scrolls the entire view. Then we have some edit text here, the name, the email, the password, and then a button. So text field, input text field, input text field. Okay. So let me just go ahead and fix this dimension and the drawable, and I'll get back. So the files have been added, and I will give it for you guys to download. So now we have the onClick events, and then there's a method here called register that's supposed to be triggered whenever the user clicks on register. And then for the login, we also have an event here. So I'm going to go ahead and create this method inside of the activity register. So clicked on a light bulb, and then I will click on create activity or create method. Okay, it has been created, and then I'll do the same thing for this one. Click create it. So inside the activity, the two methods have been created. So let's fix the login first of all, and I'm going to, so when someone click on the login button, it should take the user to the login activity. So go over to the main activity and copy the code I've written already, and then paste it in here. So when you click on the login, it takes you to the login activity, and then inside of the login, okay, we haven't completed yet. So for the login now, we want to make the user so the register function is implemented in the sign in or the register button. So when a user clicks on the register button, there's some things that should happen. So we want to first of all get what the user typed in, that is his name, his email address, his password, and then create the account for the user. So inside the register function here, I am going to make that happen. But first we need to initialize Firebase authentication first, and I created it in the main activity. I just don't want to type too much code, so I'm going to be copying and pasting a lot here. So I'll copy it from the main activity and paste it in here, and then the initialization also. So this was mauth. So it's mauth equals to Firebase auth.get instance. So in the Firebase auth.get instance, we want to get the text from, we want to get the name, the email address, and the password. So what is the ID of the name field exactly? So the name is name et, the email is email etc, the password is what password is it. Good. Now over here I am going to make that happen. So first of all, the name I'll just call it. So the reason why I'm able to just reference this ID or the view from the class is because of calling synthetic. So if you come here, if you come to the imports, this is what made that happen. So the calling Android synthetic main activity reg star. So that is what make that happen. So I'm going to get the text from this. So name et.get text. Oh, where is it? Get tag. Oops, sorry, I think it's supposed to be .text. Yeah, so .text is a property access syntax. So .text gives you access to either get text and set text. So after getting the text, I'm going to convert it to a string, but then I'm going to store it inside a variable called name, and then I'll do the same thing for the email and password, right? So call this email. Oops. This will be email, and this will be from the email et, and then this will be pass, just call this pass, and this will be from the password et. So we got the text from all of them and then converted them to a string. So time to create the user with Firebase. So I'll call mauth.create user with email and password. Good. And the first thing I'll pass in is the email, and the second thing I'm going to pass here is the where's the other one, password. Pass here. Now after that I am just going to add on-click listener. So the way I'm going to add the on-click listener is by using lambda expression. So yeah, I'm going to do dot add onComplete listener. So inside the onComplete listener, I'm going to use this lambda expression. So the it is the default response that it will return. So we also need to add the failsafe assertion here, and these two failsafe. Right. So inside this it, I think I'm going to stick with this, or I think I'll just change this to task and use lambda expressions like this. So here we're going to check if the thing was actually successful first of all. So we use the if statements here. So I'll say if task dot is successful. So if the task was successful, then we want to go ahead and then create a collection inside our Firebase firestore and then store the user or the user information. But first of all, there's something we haven't done yet. We need to initialize our progress bar. So I'm going to look for the progress bar here, somewhere here. Yep, this is a progress bar. So our progress bar is called